Maybe you've never seen this movie, but the classic scene, you're no stranger to this stress. The scene is from the movie Deciphering the Labyrinth. To fire soil test. Compared to the previous film's production budget has doubled, up to $60 million. Pull the story from the enchanted post-apocalyptic world. Vast and majestic. When the movie came out that year, it's still benefiting from the timing factor. That's the Ebola epidemic in West Africa. It's just been announced by the World Health Organization that it's over. In such a context, the film evoked a strong empathy in the audience. Foreign media descriptio. This movie, it feels more real and scary than part 1. Before we officially go into content analysis, I still need to lead people learn more about the context of the story. Because there's actually a lot of audience feedback. I don't understand the movie. It's actually the human society of the future. Because the population is growing so fast, severe shortage of resources. In addition to the attack from radiation waves, the sun has turned a large amount of land back into the wilderness. To solve the problem of overpopulation, and also to find a way to survive for humanity, nations have cooperated. We started an organization called the Radiation Alliance. SUN stands for FPC. They plan to use VI withdrawal, extreme flare, to reduce population around the world. But no one expected that. This withdrawal virus quickly mutates. It's no longer kill the victim immediately as originally planned, but instead, it exhibits a much more terrifying characteristic. It gets into the patient's brain, turn them into unconscious people. Crazy patients are also called crazy people. After being infected, the patient will initially show symptoms like headaches and distraction. Then the headache will get worse and worse. It's like something's tearing through the brain. At the same time, they talk massively and they're emotionally unstable. You can't control your own behavior, and there's also a tendency to show strong aggression. They end up completely insane. The patient completely loses consciousness until a new generation emerges. A group of immune people. The younger the children are, the more likely it is to produce withdrawal VI antibodies. So the government reformed the FPC into the VCK organization. Full name. It's the Post-Disaster Regional Lab. To study this group of immune people to find out detoxification serum. Therefore, VCK has built a huge and complex maze. Take a lot of teenagers with and without immunity, with flare, to the inside after erasing their memories. Supply of the necessities periodically. Let them survive on their own, but that's not enough. To more realistically simulate the pressures of survival that the 6th withdrawal caused to mankind, they even released the Reaver monsters into the labyrinth. Terrorism in such an extremely dangerous environment. The bodies of immune people will instinctively release of stress hormones. The organization PKPI can silently monitor the brain activity of these experimental subjects to study, look at their immunity, how it's finally formed. So in the first movie, Thomas leads his friends out of the maze. It also means that they have entered the next phase. Men as you, I can definitely guess what will happen. On the road by armed men. Go to the WC headquarters. WCKD. Thomas in a dream recalled part of his memory. Since the solar radiation disaster broke out, the world is in ruins. His mother was alone through the thick crowd. She hugged Thomas as a child. I give you to PCK Ed. On the one hand, it's about giving Thomas a chance to survive. Other side, I also hope you can contribute to the research. The antidote. The outside world is full of dangers. The epidemic is raging. Food and water are scarce, making it extremely difficult to survive. Little Thomas is carried on a dark Vago. There were many children in the car. Your age when the person behind it shows up. Thomas was swallowed by fear. I woke up from my dream, Thomas. Thomas got up and had to go. Just got out of the helicopter. A group of deformed people. The face was twisted like it was crazy, coming from the wreckage. The armed forces immediately set up a defensive line. There's gunfire everywhere. Under their support, Thomas and his friends are safely escorted to the shelter. The man in charge of this place is called Jansen. He said that, I always try to rescue young people. Kicked take advantage. Give them a place to hide. Protect them from the threat of flare and Grinch. They don't have to worry about anything in the shelter. The food is full. After the staff finished the periodic inspection, they'll be assigned to a safer hiding place. Happiness came so suddenly that made Thomas, who had always been cautious, even more suspicious. I walked into the cafeteria and saw a bunch of young people. Now that I know, Ra doesn't just have a labyrinth. All the people present, they're all lucky people here. To overcome the challenge, follow the process here. Every 2 days, a group goes on. But in the corner of the room, there's a very lost stranger. He's been waiting for a week and hasn't been taken away. I heard in his labyrinth. Except for him, they're all girls. I don't blame him for looking so small. Thomas was looking into the situation. Johnson appeared, with a clear list back to Selectio. He started calling out names. The chosen ones are delighted. But only the weirdo. John knows that. What's waiting for them is not the blue sky, white cloud, the sentient mountain, but the nearest point in the distance. At the right time, Thomas realized that Teresa has been taken to a different place. I immediately ran to ask why. Unexpressive facial guard. Calm down. Explain that it's just a little checkup. Thomas didn't believe it, but I could only blink to see Teresa being led away. Quiet late night, John crawled out of the vent into Thomas' bedroom. Sign me not to make a sound. then stealthily led Thomas Times to a restricted area. OT long after, to research staff gave those who was selected at noon to enter the research institute after anesthesia. At first glance, there's nothing unusual to figure out what they're up to. The next day at mealtime, Thomas pretended nothing was wrong and decided to blend into a group called. It was discovered by a police officer at the time. Thomas immediately decided to play to the end, rushed straight inside. Soon after, the two sides engaged in a violent clash until Johnson. He quickly appeared and ordered the arrest of Thomas and the others in solitary confinement. But that's actually Thomas' plan. Then out, you stole the card from the guard. And tell everyone immediately the strange points of shelter. You tell the Dong's shield formation team, and then with John we went into the vent again. This time the people broke into the research institute. But just arrived, banging in the eye, there are a series of embryos of demonic monsters. Go deep inside. The sight in front of them made their backs cold. People who have been declared was taken to heave. Outside the world, it's all here without an AI. They're suspended in the air. Full body plugged in all kinds of devices as if something is being extracted from the blood of these teenagers. Even when you're stunned. Johnson led people into the lab. Both immediately squeeze yourself behind a pole. And that's how I overheard a horrible secret. More than that, it turns out Johnson is the one behind everything. Dr. Pigger's subordinates. Responsible for the second phase of the research project. Dr. Pigger's brain gave him orders to speed up the experiment before she gets to the shelter. No matter how, she must see to all the children who have immunity. They're all in experimental mode. Because it's outside, there's also a righteous force called Jome. They're fighting them everywhere. Kickheads to frontline stations has been completely destroyed. Serious damage. Listen to here. Thomas immediately felt the situation was critical. Johnson just left. You risk your life back. After returning to the dormitory, Thomas quickly recounted a glimpse of the whole truth about structured relationship between Johnson and Vukt. People are in a hurry to pack up the little things. That's it. Theo, Thomas, get out of here. When Johnson, I found something unusual in the room. There was no AI. On the RU, they've taken a female scientist hostage and asked her to lead the way to Teresa. However, their every move is monitored through the camera. Supervise Yasso. Quickly localize their location and immediately activate the alert. 3-level guards receive arrest orders. It all started immediately. They switched to non-lethal electric guns. The group of people who were fleeing were forced to flee. I can't believe Minho has the courage to use the above view in the hallway, and just in time to deliver a powerful punch. Take down the guard. People take the time to steal guns, and under the guidance of female scientists, they went into the infirmary and found Teresa. But the guards quickly caught up. The table is already in front of the door. I feel ready to break. In a critical situation, Thomas picked up the chair and smashed the glass door. The whole group rushed through the broken window, run to the next room. Hiding behind my back, I'm no longer obstructed by the guards. Everybody runs straight to the door. However, the entire experimental area was destroyed by Johnson. Blockade. You can't even open the steel door with an access card. When Johnson led Theo into a large army, your face is hot. The group has no way back. They're ready for roof living. I didn't expect the steel door to close. Suddenly opened. Turns out John doesn't know. How did you crack the lock? See the situation? Thomas immediately drew his gun and repelled the guards. Then take that opportunity and run towards the end hallway. And this is the birth of the most dramatic scene. The most exciting in the whole movie. When it's all over, John immediately destroyed the door lock, stopped Johnson and his minions. Before leaving, Thomas made a move. Hand-operative international friendship with Johnson, as if to show a little homesickness. And so on. People were finally able to get out the door. The last base without a hitch. Run to freedom, but the world is covered in golden sand. To escape the pursuit, they panicked and ran into a mall. Desolate, Thomas calmly thought about his next plan. Now they are lonely and helpless. Think about you over and over. I'm going to find Ryan's organization in the north that Dr. Page mentioned. People often say the enemy of the enemy is the ally. Ryan's organization has always been up against Vukt. Maybe they will be a savior to themselves and others. And then the whole group dispersed in the mall. Self-search for items to prepare for the upcoming escape journey. Minho here along the tangled cables. Found a generator in the corner of the room. As soon as the light comes on, a bunch of crazy people are sleeping. They were also awakened by the light. Everyone heard sounds like horror. Quickly get together and start running for life. Latina guy on the team, to make more time for everyone, decided to stay behind. As a result, you unfortunately have Mad guy bites. Fortunately, they finally succeeded. Get rid of crazy patients, like this zombie. Through a long hard night. The next morning it follows the tired body, start to cross the city. It's full of wounds and mucus. They were very careful along the way. Sometimes we have to avoid it. VKP's aerial searches. I see KD moving forward. It's a large desert area with a harsh environment. For the boy, Latina was seriously injured, apparently adding oil to the fire. He finally couldn't stand it and fainted. So they built a simple stretcher and carry him on his way. However, on the way they encountered a sandstorm. The whole group had to stop to rest. At this point, Teresa approached Thomas. that the scientists intervened in her neck. You and I have now fully recovered your memory. She thinks the group should go back to the shelter. Because the truth is complicated. Much more than Thomas thought. Thomas is still confused. Going to ask more was suddenly cut off by gunfire. It turns out the boy's conditio Latin has deteriorated to the point of almost madness. I know that. My illness can no longer be controlled, and not to be a burden to others. I use all the strength I have left. Ask everyone to shoot to end their pain. But no one on the team can do it. Luke finally gave me the gun. The others are also moving forward, trying to force the pain to say goodbye. No wonder. Sorry, Thomas. Take care of everyone. Teenagers always think they're immune. Side syndrome. But now I realize they themselves are not completely safe. There's still a risk of infection. People continue to cross the desert. Until one night, Thomas in his unconscious drowsiness. Put your head up and look. I can't believe I found it in the distance. Flashed in the dim light. But at the right time, the already quiet sky suddenly echoed a roar. Heavy in the blink of an eye, the black clouds came. The lightning fell without warning. People didn't even have time to react. They were struck by lightning. Minho almost got a tear looking straight at him. Fortunately, he only had a minor concussion. Everyone immediately take me to an abandoned factory ahead. But I can't breathe. Some crazy people showed up in the factory loud straight towards them. However, they quickly realized these crazy people are all tied up in heavy chains. Can only struggle within the limits of the VI. You haven't recovered yet. I can't understand what's going on. A sudden short-haired girl come out from among the crazy people. It's screaming and waving. The claws of the insane. It almost touched your shirt. But you don't seem to see the point. They look pathetic. Follow me, unless you want to stay here with the Kier. Even in the midst of doubt, people have no choice. Follow her deep inside the factory. The closer they got, the more they discovered this place. The other world. It's a temporary shelter for survivors. They are relying on each other to survive. The leader here is a man named George. The girl led them. They're Mr. Brenda's adopted daughters. George didn't say a word. Order your people to hold tight. Thomas and friends. Then hold a device sweeping through the back of each person's neck. Soon enough, confirmed, they're lab animals that have been flagged by WCKD. George had long heard the radio talk about Raya. That's always looking to recruit immune teenagers ever escaped from VKF Iced. So he planned to use Thomas and group you as evidence in exchange for a ticket to join the cyberspace. Joy am under constructio. Then you will no longer have to worry being invaded by outside forces, but a bald limb under the covers. You have the same idea. The only difference is that he chose to surrender. He hacked Jensen after receiving the news. Immediately led by a large force pulled to, Thomas and his team take advantage of the chaos to escape. I never expected to be raped by a bald man with a gun. Just-in-time 10-shot. Brenda shows up in time to destroy that traitor. Save Thomas and the others. But when George led them, they were going to use the slide to out of this place. Thomas and Brenda were the last two. Not yet on the device. Then saw the armed soldiers of Buck surrounded. Get to the right place at the most dangerous time. A timed explosive that the Joker had prepared in advance to be detonated. Fucking factory shaking violently. The building began to collapse as quickly as a domino effect. There's no turning back. You have to hang on to the cable of the elevator, sliding down the sewer to find another way out. In the sewer as black as ink held up my hand, did not see five fingers. In addition to the rats running around, there are countless people everywhere. Crazy is hiding. Maybe I've been locked in the dark for too long. The crazy people here have a monstrous appearance. It's like a parasitic fungus. It's full of twists and turns. Reminds me of The Last of Us. Two people ran away. Crazy people chasing after heels. When you run to the end, you almost fall into the abyss. Emergency situation. They're forced to cling to the ruins of a dilapidated building. It's hard to climb up. I thought I cut off their tail. I can't believe the crazy people are still clinging. Completely unrestricted by day and night. Controlled by the flare virus. They can hunt at any time. In the midst of the chaos, Brenda slipped off the gripping loss of balance in a split second. Fell hard on a glass. The glass was fragile. It just takes one more force to break apart. If it fell from there, it would. Surely there is no way of life. Thomas crept closer. Afraid of just one mistake, it will also make the situation worse. But when he was about to approach Brenda, a madman came fanging and clawing. And then suddenly, Brenda fell down. The moment 1,000 pounds of hair hung Thomas, breaking a steel bar and smashing it against the glass. At the same time, he quickly grabbed Brenna, and the crazy Kier fell straight into the abyss. Immediately crushed into meat residue. Though out of danger, but Brenda's thighs. I was bitten by a crazy person. During the struggle, you can't think much. Use a cloth to help the wound. As planned, two people went to the bar. I made an appointment to see Joker. But to get inside the bar, they're required to follow the boss's rules. So they both took one shot each. There's a sip of liquid of unknown origin in the bottle. Just walked into the bar. Mesmerizing air rushed I. Thomas began to feel his mind wandering. Eyes and nose gradually become blurry. There's all kinds of hallucinations in my head. When you wake up, you're asleep. I even saw the shadow of Teresa. And the two of you are rushing into each other like crazy. It's like there's no one around. When Thomas woke up, he realized it was Brenna. And then his eyes rolled upside down, and he passed out completely. In the midst of chaos, I think back to the scene in the laboratory of Kit. Those fragmented memories, you always think you're the one who caused it. When I wake up a guy, you've been reunited with your 7-year-old comrades. The bar owner is tied up by the Joker. Beat for face, bruised nose. At first he really thought. The boss contacted Fairfax AM to help them, but after what happened to Thomas, I found the boss on the outside. In the back. Looks like he's helping Ryan save the immune system. But in the back it's tempting. Young people like Thomas take drugs. Then he sold them to WCKD for profit. Personally, my friend changed his mind. Now I'm going to beat you up. In a fit of anger, George pulled a gun and pointed it at his boss. He was beaten to the point where he couldn't stand it. He was forced to reveal the whereabouts of Ryan's faction. After you get the coordinates, everyone immediately on the way. I never expected to be ambushed on the mountain. They are all enemies. They didn't even have time to protest. The masked women were holding guns from behind. Surround yourself as soon as people think it's over. John is agitated. He hugged two women in masks. Turns out they're old friends. John from the time in the labyrinth, born and died for 3 years. The relationship is very deep. After the misunderstanding is resolved, follow the lead of two women. Easy access to Ryan's real base. Because Ryan's always used guerrilla tactics, just hit once and move. So WCKD can't do anything about them. The person in charge of the base is Vince. Everyone just met him. I didn't have time to talk. There was no sign. Brenda suddenly collapsed to the ground. Vince hurriedly walked over. Go to check when you see her wounds. His face changed immediately, and the reaction is very strong. Without hesitation, he pulled out his gun and tried to shoot Brenna. You can't stop him right now. The scientist in Mary's base rushed to. She's infected. Doctor, we can't save her, right? But he can turn out. Mary previously worked at WCKD. She didn't just know Thomas. That can say that the protest organization Joy AM got today. Thomas contributed a small 1-0 before being thrown into the maze. Thomas has revealed the coordinates of WCKD. The rate of moving compounds, as well as the specific situation of the laboratory. It's all fully provided by you. Give all this information to Mary. This information becomes an important foundation. Help organize Raya. Strong growth. Allow them to be able to confront Vuk directly. In a more planned way. Turns out you're our route. Mary took Thomas's blood and injected it into Brenda's body to slow down the progression of her disease. It turns out that the brains of immune people, it's able to secrete an enzyme, especially when extracting this enzyme from the blood. It can be made into a powerful drug. This drug can slow down the spread of the virus, but we can only stop 6 from growing. People who are infected throughout for the rest of your life, you have to keep vaccinated and survive. So the question is, important enzyme. This can only be extracted from immune people. There's no other synthesis method. So for WCKD, young immune people become at risk, raw materials for making vaccines. What this means is, to develop a drug that could solve permanent problem disease flare, to save the world, we need to drain the entire immune population, young to get enough doses of detoxifying serum, until the people can really get rid of the hands of disease, flare. However, the cost will be huge and expensive. We believe that young people have the right to live. The Ryan movement have stood up against the inhumane actions of the WCKD. Mary's explanation finally helped Thomas. People who have lost their memory understand complex relationships behind this. Soon Brenda's condition changed for the better. As soon as everyone thinks the situation is developing in a positive direction, but Teresa was in tears with a sad face. Let's start talking to Thomas. That her mother had been tortured by the flare virus. It hurts all day and all night. The feeling of not living up to it is a daughter you'll never forget. Then her mother couldn't take it anymore, and in despair plucked out his own eyes. Seen, it's bloody and desperate right in front of you. And become a shadow. It's been indelible in your heart ever since. There's a search for a cure to save people like your mother. People who are suffering become your obsession. You tell these stories. I hope, Thomas, I can understand your choices and actions. Because she announced the location of Ryan Cho WCKD. This is actually talking about the trolley paradox in a dilemma. Finally, Teresa chose the side that seemed to save more people. But the value of life, it can't just be measured by numbers. If you only rely on numbers to determine the value, it's not the oppression of the majority over the some minority. Under fire attack from WCKD, Ryan suffered 7 heavy losses without one. What immunity can escape? Thomas had a chance to escape, but to save his comrades, he took the initiative to get arrested. Dr. Page directly fly the fighter to the scene to control the situation. In her eyes, Joey AM is a self-righteous organization. Just thinking about hiding immune people to monopolize. They don't care about others at all. Then WCKD do all comes from the general. Is to find a way out for the whole world, humanity from the disease of the. This is the real act of justice. Both sides believe in their ideals. For me, Make the right situation become deadlocked. But Johnson doesn't listen to you anymore. Shoot Mary on the spot. That scene made Tia hesitate for the last time in her heart. Thomas completely disappeared. I don't hesitate. Determined to pull out the bomb, prepared to commit suicide to show determination, not subdue. The team members responded in turn, ready to suffer with you. Because there are things more precious than life. At the moment of life, prepare to press the switch. George drove the truck speeding like crazy to blow up a helicopter. The not immune people are arrested. Take the opportunity of chaos to escape. Ryan also regained the spirit of starting a fierce counterattack. After a fierce battle, both sides suffered heavy damage. Ed found the situation uncontrollable, reluctant to run away for the giver Theo. Doctor, Piggy and some immune people can't escape. Start to retreat. Among those who were taken away was Minho, the person who was shot by the taser fainted after everything had calmed down. People started to tidy up the sprawling battlefield. Vince plans to lead the immunists. The rest goes to a distant land. It's called Safe Haven, to start a new life. But Thomas made a different decision. He is determined to save Minho, and this time I won't be running away. Free for friends, and above all to declare with Kick that this brutal experiment was time to end. Great speech, kid. Do you have any plans?